Okay, in this session, we are going to cover topic 2, ratios and proportions, and you can follow along the material in the booklet, okay? So first, let's start with a ratio. So what do we mean by a ratio? So ratio, it means that it's a relationship between two parts, okay? So what do we mean by that? So for example, here, I've got three blue post-it notes, and I've got two yellow post-it notes, two of these and three of these, okay? So then I can say that blue versus yellow, the ratio, I have 3:2, right? So I can write that as, so the ratio I can write as 3:2. That means that I've got 3 blues and 2 yellows. Okay, I can write 3:2 like that. Or we can also write that as 3:2, that is blue to yellow, 3:2. Or we can also write that as 3/2, so 3 blue and 2 yellow, okay? So they all mean the same thing. So that's how we write the ratio. So how many of the blues versus how many of the yellows, right? So why do we call it parts? Is because totally I've got 5 post-it notes, right? Out of those, 3 are blue and 2 are yellow, right? So it's very, very similar to fraction concept, okay? So let's take another example. So let's say I've got 3 apples to 2 oranges, okay? So in a basket, so what that means is I've got a basket with 5 fruits, 3 of them are apples, 2 of them are oranges, right? So then in that basket, if I have 50 fruits and still I have the same ratio, so then I can say that I've got 30 apples in that basket and 20 oranges, 30:20, right? So 3:2. So that's what I mean by ratio, okay? So then let's define what do we mean by proportion, okay? So proportion means that, okay, so let's write proportion. So what do we mean by proportion, okay? Proportion means that there are 2 equal ratios. So for example, I have one ratio, so I can write 1/2, right? That's one way to write that. And then, so that's same as a fraction. So the concept is very, very similar to fractions, okay? So 1/2. I can write equivalent fraction or equivalent ratio. So we talked about the equivalent fraction before. So let's say that, I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 2. We did that before, right? So now that is 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4, right? So I've got 2 equal ratios. So when you have these equal ratios, what happens? So when I do the cross multiply, what happens? So just to reduce the confusion, so let me write it this way, 2/4. So 2/4. So when I do the cross multiplication, what happens? 4 times 1, that is 4. 2 times 2, that is 4, right? So when I cross multiply, they will always be equal. Why? Because, so now we said that it's 1 times 2, then 2 times 2, and that equals 2 times 4. So now, when you multiply this way, so 1 times 2 times 2, that's 4. 1 times 2 times 2, that's 4. This 2 times 1 times 2, that's also 4. So always, when I have 2 equal ratios, when I cross multiply, they will always be equal. So what do we mean by proportion? It's just 2 equal ratios, okay? So let's do another example. So let's say that I have 3/5 equals 6/10, right? So they are equivalent fractions. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 5 is 10. When I cross multiply, what happens? 3 times 10 is 30. 5 times 6 is 30. So you see that when you cross multiply 2 proportions, they are equal. And it doesn't have to be a proper fraction. I can even have an improper fraction. For example, I can have 5 over 3 equals, right? So I can have 10 over 6, and then when I cross multiply, 5 times 6 is 30, 3 times 10 is 30. So whenever you have a proportion, when you cross multiply, they will always be equal, okay? So now, there are a lot of problems you can solve with proportions. So let's take this example. So let's say that in a class, there are 80 students, okay? Total number of students is 80, okay? And the number of boys to girls ratio is 3 to 2. So 3 boys to 2 girls, okay? So that's a ratio in that class. Now, how many boys are there? Okay, so that's a question. So in order to solve these word problems, you need to set up the problem correctly, okay? So here, what is a question? You need to ask how many boys are there, that's a question. So then you want to do, boys. So here the ratio, I've got 3 boys, right? Then when I have 3 boys, out of how many total, if I have 5 total students, in this case, 5 total students, out of them, 3 are boys, 2 are girls, okay? But in the class, I've got 80 total, okay? So if the total is 5 students, I've got 3 boys. If the total is 80 students, then the question is asking how many boys, right? So that's the question. So you need to set it up, the problem like this. If I have a total of 5 students, I have 3 boys. If I have a total of 80 students, how many boys? You set it up like that, okay? So, and then all you have to do is to get the proportion, you just divide, and then you just divide both sides. So then it becomes equal ratio, so it becomes a proportion problem, right? So you can write 3 divided by question mark equals 5 over 80. You can do that. Always boys, boys, total, total. And then you just write down this over this is this over that. Always write like that, proportion problem. And then you cross multiply. So we know that when we cross multiply, they are going to be always equal. So when you cross multiply, so 5 times how many boys? That's what we want to find out. And then 80 times 3. So 80 times 3. So that is 240. So 5 times the question mark is 240. So what is the question mark? How many? So 5 times something is 240. So then I want to find out what that is. So in order to solve that kind of problem, the question mark, 5 times, I don't like the 5. I just want the question mark, right? I want to find this out. So I can divide both sides by 5. I can do that, right? So I don't need this intermediate step now. So I have this. So I divide both sides by 5. So 5 over 5 is 1, that's gone. So the question mark is 240 divided by 5, right? So that is going to be, if you do it in a calculator, it's 48. So there are 48 boys in the class. Okay, so that's how you do these kind of problems. Okay, so now the next topic we are going to do is the percents. So we talked about percent a little bit before. So I'm going to review that percent again. So what do we mean by a percent? Percent is, again, we have a part and then divided by whole, okay? And that is percent divided by 100. So this is what we usually denote that by percent like this. So the percent is part of a whole where the whole is always 100, okay? So let me give you a couple examples for you to understand what is the difference between percent, decimal, and the fraction, okay? So let's just take this example. So I've got this pie, and I'm dividing exactly into 2 equal halves, and then you get 1 piece, I get 1 piece. So you get exactly 1 piece, okay? So in the fraction, what do you have? It's 1 out of 2. So I'm counting pieces. out of 2 pieces, you got 1 piece, right? So that's a fraction. Another way to say this is, in terms of decimals we did before. So in terms of fraction, you always count the total number of pieces and then how many pieces you got. So that's how the fraction works. In terms of decimal, we already did that 1/2. We divided the long division 0.5. You can do it in the calculator also. If you express it in decimal, it's 0.5. And then here, it's always, total is 1. So like a 1 pi, you get 0.5 of it, right? So another way, another good example, it's a 0.5 pi, it's very hard to comprehend. So let's say I've got $1, right? I've got $1, so that means that I've got exactly 4 quarters. Then you get half, I get half, right? So you get 50 cents. So there's 50 cents here, and how do you write the 50 cents? It's in terms of dollar, 0.5. We wrote that, right? 0.5. So similarly, in the pi, you get 0.5 pi. So 0.5 by 1. So this is always like on the bottom, you got a $1. So 0.5 out of 1, right? So in terms of decimal, what you do is the whole is 1, then you get what fraction of it? 0.5 of that. So that's what decimal. And then the percent, what it does, it's always for 100. So the percent assumes that you always cut the pie into 100 equal pieces. Always 100. In fraction, you can do 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 8 pieces. But in percent, you cut this pie into always 100 pieces, and then you get exactly half, I get half, right? So if we cut this in 100 pieces, and you are going to get 50 pieces, and I'm going to get 50 pieces, right? So the difference, so this is the fraction. Fraction says that you got 1 out of 2 pieces. That's a fraction. Decimal is 0.5 out of 1. Always the total is 1, so you get part of the 1, 0.5. And in terms of percent, if I have 100 pieces and then you are going to get 50, I'm going to get 50 pieces, okay? So that's a difference, okay? And then now there is a close relationship between these two. So from here, I can go here. So for example, 0.5 over 1, and what I can do is I can multiply, so I want to have 100 at the bottom, that's my goal. So what I can do is 0.5, and then I've got a 1. I can multiply both the top and the bottom by 100 to get an equivalent kind of fraction, right? So when I do that on the bottom, 1 times 100, I get 100. Then 0.5 times 100, every time we multiply a decimal by 100, we said that you move the decimal point 2 places to the right, because I've got 2 zeros, right? So then when you do that, then it becomes 50, right? So from decimal, you can go to the percent, right? You just need to move the decimal to 2 places to the right. Then from decimal, you can go to percent. Similarly, from the percent, you want to go back to decimal. So it's a 50 over 100. So always, whatever the percent, you take 2 decimals and then 2 digits and then put the decimal point, and then from here you can go to the decimal. From percent you can go to decimal, from decimal you can go to percent. They're all equivalent, okay? So let's do another example. So let's say that I'm going to cut the pie into 4 pieces. I've got a pie, I've got 4 pieces now, and so you are going to get 1 piece, I'm going to get 1 piece, and 2 friends are going to get 2 other pieces, okay? So now you got 1 out of 4, right? In terms of fraction, out of 4 pieces you got 1, so that's a fraction. So when you actually convert it to decimal, when you do the long division, then you do that, you get that to be 0.25. You can actually do it in your calculator, 1 over 4. When you do it in calculator, you are going to get 0.25, right? And then if you want to write it as a percent, you just need to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so it's a 25 over 100, okay? So another example, so let's say that I've got, 1 quarter, I've got $1, I've got 4 quarters, So you get 1/4. So 1/4, so it's like a 1/4 of a dollar, and that is 25 cents, 0.25, 25 cents. So another way to say that is 25 out of 100. So 100 cents is $1. I have 25 of 100 cents. 25 cents out of 100 cents, right? So that's what we mean by, so this is a fraction, this is a decimal, this is a percent. They all mean the same thing. So we are expressing a part of a whole, okay, in 3 different ways, okay? So now, let's do some problems to illustrate this, the percent. So the first problem here is, what is 27% of 300? Okay, so that's the question, okay? So you can do this problem a lot of different ways. I'm going to tell you a couple ways. 27% of 300, right? So we talked about that in the previous session. So if you want 27%, that means that 27 over 100. So 27% means 27 over 100 of 300. So you can do it that way, and then you, the common factor is gone. So 81. So 81. So that's the answer. 27% of 300. Okay. So that's one way of doing that. Another way to do this is that all these problems can be set up as a proportion kind of problem. Okay. So always you've got a whole and you've got a part, right? So let's write the part here, and then let's write the whole here. Okay. So 27% means if the part is 27, the whole is 100, right? So percent means that I'm cutting the pie into 100 equal pieces, and I'm getting 27 of those, right? So part is 27, whole is 100. Now 300, they are saying that's a whole. So if the whole was 300, then what is going to be the part? That's a question, right? So 27 out of 100. Now what is 27% of 300? So you can set it up this way. So then you can actually, this over that is this over that. And then you can do the cross multiplication, and then question mark times 100. So 100 times question mark equals 27 times 300. Then 100 times something. So I don't want that 100 times, because I just want the question mark. I want to solve for this question mark. So I'm going to divide this by 100. I'm going to divide this by 100. So when I divide 100 by 100, that is 1, so that's gone. So the question mark is same as before. So 3 times 27, that's 81, right? You can set it up, all these problems, like this proportion problems, always, right? So then you can easily solve those. So you have like a one method to solve all these problems. So sometimes they ask you, the second problem, 37 is what percent of 185, okay? So 37 is what percent of 185. So you need to know what is the part, what is the whole, okay? So now 37 is the part, 185 is the whole, right? So you've got a part, and then you've got a whole. So the part is 37, and then whole is 185. And then when the whole is 100, and then you want to know what the part is, because the question is what percent, right? So you can set it up like this. If the total is 185, then the whole is that, then part is 37. If the total is 100, what is going to be the part? So that's a percent, right? So you can set it up this way. So then you just divide, and then you just do the cross multiplication. So question mark times 185 equals 37 times 100. And then I don't want 185, so I just want to solve for the question mark. So I divide both sides by 185, right? So then this is gone, I have the question mark. So the right hand side, 37 times 100 divided by 185, and that comes out to be exactly 20. So the answer is 20%, okay? So this number is 20, so that means a 20%, right? Okay. So then the next example is that says 20% of what is $50. So you really need to figure out what is the whole, what is the part, and that's very important. 20% of what is $50. Okay, so first 20% means that 20 is always the part, 100 is always the whole. Okay, so that is very obvious when you have a percent, right? 20% of what is $50. So of what, so that's whole, that's what you want to find out. 50, that is the part. Okay, so you set it up like this. So then it's very easy. You just divide both sides like that. So then you just cross multiply. So then question mark times 20 equals 50 times 100. And then something times 20. I don't want the 20, I just want this. So I want to get rid of this. How do I do that? If I divide that by 20, so 20 by 20, that's 1. So I have to be fair. I need to do the exact same thing on the other side. So this cancels. So now, if you just compute that, that comes out to be 250. Okay, so so the total is $250. 20% of that is $50. Okay, so that's how these problems work. And then this has got a lot of other applications. So we are going to do some other applications at this point. Let's move on to the next page here. This can be applied to distance and time. Okay. So this problem says if you travel at 60 miles per hour, how much distance would you travel in 3 hours? Okay. So you can just say that. So this is not always part and a whole. So you can kind of think of this problem as a part and a whole. So what this is saying is that, so in 1 hour, okay, so in 1 hour, you are going to be making 60 miles. Okay, so it says that you are traveling 60 miles per hour. So in 1 hour, you are doing 60 miles. The question is, how many miles you would travel in 3 hours? Okay, so in 3 hours, how many miles is the question, right? So then you can exactly same like before, just divide, and then you do the cross multiplication. So 1 times question mark, 1 times question mark equals 3 times 60. So 1 times question mark, it's 1 times anything, it's just the same thing, right? So I don't need that. So it is 180. So in 3 hours, you would have done 180 miles. So this problem, it's very easy. If you travel 60 miles per hour for 3 hours, 3 times 60, you could have just done like that also. You don't need to set it up like this, okay? So there are so many different ways you can solve it. So this way, consistently, all the proportion problems, you can set it up like this. That's why I'm demonstrating like this, okay? So next problem, it says that if you spent $20 and bought 5 notebooks, how much did each notebook cost? Okay, so you can set it up like this. You got 5 notebooks, and you have paid for that, $20. And then the question is asking for one notebook, how much you have paid. Okay, so again, you can just do this problem, it's a division problem. Like I've got $20, I bought 5 notebooks, 20 divided by 5, $4. You could have just done that, right? Or if you want to set it up like this, so 5 notebooks cost $20, 1 notebook costs how many dollars? So you just divide like that, and then again, you do the cross multiplication. So 1 times 20 equals question mark times 5, and I divide both sides by 5, right? So this gets canceled. So question mark equals 20 over 5, which is equal to 4. Okay, so that's what we got before. So then this can be applied to, discounts and things like that also. So for example, let's say that, original price of a shirt is $35. It is on sale for 20% off. What is the sale price? Okay. So now you can actually do that again. So in this case, so if the original price was $100, then it says that the discount is $20 off, right? So that means that if the original price was $100, then they are going to take $20 off. So you are going to get that for $80, right? If the total was $100, then you are going to get the sale for $80. Now, if the original price is $35, how much is going to be the sale price, right? You can set it up like this. So then, again, you just divide. So then you cross multiply, right? So 100 times the question mark equals 35 times 80. So then 100 times the question mark, so you don't want the 100, so you divide both sides by 100 like that, right? So then it gets canceled, so you get only question mark, and then you can do that in the calculator. So when you do that, it comes out to be $28. So the sale price is $28, okay? So you can set it up. Again, you could have done $35 and then 20% off, right? So the 35 times 20%, so you will get the discount, and then you can subtract the discount from the original price. You could have done this problem like that also, okay? So there are so many ways to do these problems. So whichever way you feel comfortable, that's how you need to do this, okay? Okay, so then this percent has got a lot of applications in banking. So for example, so the interest, so let's say that you got the $100 you are investing in the bank today, and the bank is going to give you 5% interest for 1 year. So for a 1 year annual rate is 5%, okay? So what does that really mean? So if you invest $100 today, a year from now, they are going to give you $5 out of $100, right? So you will be getting $5 a year from now. If you invested 2 years, so 1 year you'll get $5, second year you get another $5, 5 and 5, $10, right? Then if you invest for 3 years, so 3 times 5, you would have gotten $15 interest, right? And instead of exactly $100, let's say that you invest $200 today, and the interest rate is 5%. So for every $100, they're going to give you $5. So now you've got 200, so 2 times 5, they are going to give you $10 interest for 1 year, right? So if you leave it there for 3 years, they are going to give you $30 interest, right? So that's how the math works. So we can put this math in an equation. So the equation for the interest, the amount of interest you are going to be earning, we call it PRT, PERT. Remember, PERT, interest is PERT. PERT means that the P stands for the principal. However, amount you are going to be investing, and then times R is the rate, that is the 5% or 6% the annual rate, and then T stands for the time. And remember, it's always going to be in years. So it's because they give you annual rate, okay? So this is when you have this formula like this, it's very easy. You don't need to think about, okay, so I'm investing this much, and then rate, I need to multiply the rate, and then I need to multiply by time and all that. So when you have a formula, it just plug and play, okay? When they give you the information in the problem, you just plug in all the right numbers, okay? So let's do a problem. So let's say that you are investing $3,000 today. So that is your principal. Principal means how much money you are investing today, $3,000. And then let's say that the bank is giving you 5% interest rate. And how much interest would you get in 3 years, right? So when you do that, you can plug and play here. So the interest equals PRT, and principal, you just plug, this is 3,000, you just plug in the number, times R, 5%, so 5 over 100, times T, you are investing for 3 years, okay, so that's 3, okay? So then you can actually do this whole thing in calculator, okay? So then that comes out to be $450. So that is the amount of interest you would have earned in 3 years. Okay? So sometimes they ask you the question, so you are investing $3,000 today at 5% interest rate, for 3 years, right? And what will be the total amount in 3 years in your account? Okay? So this $450 is the interest you have earned. $450 they have given you in 3 years. Okay? So the total amount is going to be, you have your principal, that's still there. So the $3,000 is still there. And then plus you have earned $450 interest. So together, totally, you are going to have $3,450 in your account 3 years from now. That's what that means. Okay? And sometimes in these kind of problems, they give you, for example, the next problem. So they give you sometimes like this. If you have invested P dollars, so we don't know exactly what that is, and for 5% simple interest, and if you receive an interest of $450 in 3 years, how much money did you invest? Okay? So in that case, so the interest equals PRT. So you exactly know this formula here. And in this problem, they are saying that you have earned an interest of $450. So you plug and play, right? You plug in, interest is $450. That's what you have received. Then P, principal, however much you have invested, you don't know that, so let's just put P. And then interest rate, 5% simple interest rate. Rate is 5%, means 5 over 100. Always remember to put the 5 over 100. Then T, 3 years, so you put T, that's 3, okay? So you've got all these things, so you just need to simplify and solve for P. So how do you do that? So in this case, 3 times 5, right? 3 times 5, that's 15, so you can do that, right? So then, so you just want to solve for P, so you have 15 over 100, you don't like that, you just want the P, right? So what you have to do is you just need to take it to the other side, right? So you can actually cross multiply like this, like that, right? So then P will become what? P equals 450 and then times 100 and then divided by 15, okay? And then when you do the math, then P comes out to be $3,000, okay? So they can give you, once you have this equation here, they can give you, compute the interest, or they can say compute what is the total amount, or they can give you other information and then ask you what is the value of P or R or T, any of these. So once you have this equation, you will be able to solve, okay? Okay, so with that we have covered all the basic concepts. So now we are going to do practice problems. So there are 14 practice problems in the booklet. That's what we are going to do, okay? So let's start with the first problem. And first problem says that Joe spent 2 hours in planning and 6 hours in working. What is the ratio of time spent on planning to working, okay? So you can write that as ratio means that 2 hours in planning to 6 hours in working. So 2:6, okay? You can write it like that, or you can say that 2:6, you can do it that way, or you can do that 2/6. So they all mean the same thing, right? And normally, when we write the ratio, we reduce it to the lowest term. So 2:6, if you take the common factors out, that is same as 1:3. That's same as, you can write 1:3. That's same as writing 1/3. Okay? So that's the first problem. So the second problem, Anne takes 2 hours to plant 7 bushes. How long will she take to plant 35 bushes? Okay? So the way you set this up, there are two things, like hours and planting the bushes, right? So you want to say 2 hours, it takes 2 hours to plant 7 bushes. Okay, so you write that down, 2 hours for 7 bushes. How long will it take to plant 35 bushes? So then 35 bushes, so you want to write it down, okay? So bushes, you want to put that way, right? And then how many hours is the question, right? So you always set it up like for 2 hours, 7 bushes, 35 bushes, how many hours? Bushes, hours. In the same unit, you set it up like this. You set it up like this, then you just divide, right? That's a proportion problem, you divide. And then once you divide, then you do the cross multiplication, right? So question mark times 7, so question mark times 7 equals 2 times 35. Like that, right? So now I just need to solve for the question mark, so something times 7. So I don't want the 7. So if I want to get rid of the 7, how do I do that? I just divide by 7 so I can cancel it out. To be fair, I need to do the exact same thing to the other side, right? So I can cancel 7 and 7, right? I've got the question mark. So here, this will go 5 times. 2 times 5, that is 10. So it'll take 10 hours, okay? And you can kind of intuitively see that, for 7 bushes, 2 hours, 5 times 7 is 35, so 5 times 2 is 10, right? So you can kind of see that this answer actually makes sense. Okay? So now let's move on to the next problem. So I'm not sure whether I'm erasing the problems too quickly, so I want you to understand it and then you can actually practice yourself, okay? So next problem, a shirt costs $45. It's on sale for 35% off. How much is the discount? Okay, so 35% off. So what does this mean? 35% off means that if the original price was $100, the discount is going to be exactly 35. So this is the discount, right? And this is the original price. So 35% means that if the original price was $100, my discount is 35 because the percent always the total is 100, right? Now the shirt costs $45 is the original price. So if the shirt costs originally $45, what is the discount? Okay? So again, you just set it up like this, and then you just divide, and then you do the cross multiplication. Okay? So then 100 times question mark equals 45 times 35. So you can do that in the calculator. So now 100, I don't want the 100, so I divide by 100 here. And to be fair, I need to do the exact same thing here. So 100 is gone. So question mark is 45 times 35 divided by 100. And that comes out to be $15.75. So if the original price was $45, then if it's a 35% discount, so the discount is $15.75% is the discount. Okay, so you have to read the question very carefully. How much is the discount? So this is the discount. Okay. So then the next problem number 4, it says that a shirt costs $45. It is on sale for 35% off. How much does it cost on sale? So the discount is $15.75. So how much it's costing now? So the original price is $45, and now discount is $15.75. So in the calculator, you can just say that $45 minus the discount $15.75, and that comes out to be $29.25. So the sale price now, the original price was $45. Now they are giving it to you for $29.25. Okay? now let's move on to the next problem. Okay, problem number 5. A farmer uses 12,000 acres of dairy, 5,000 acres for corn, and 3,000 acres for vegetables. What percent of the farm is used for vegetables? Okay. So remember, percent means that you always need to find the total, whole, and the part. Okay, so what is the whole here? So he's got totally 12,000 acres for dairy, and then 5,000 acres for corn, and 3,000 acres for vegetables, okay? So if you add them up, so that is 20,000 acres, that's a total, that's a whole or the total, right? So that's what he has, 12,000 acres of farm. Out of those, that's a total, whole. Out of that, only 3,000 acres he is using for vegetables, okay? So for vegetables, he is using 3,000 acres out of, so this is the part, right? And the whole is 20,000, right? So that's what he is, this is the whole, okay? So now the question is the percent. So now you can set it up. If the part is 3,000, then the whole is 20,000, right? So this is the whole, this is the part. But now you want the percent. So if the total whole is 100, then you know how many is going to be for vegetables. So instead of 20,000, if the whole is 100, so in that case, then how many acres are going to be for the vegetables, right? So again, you can just do this and then do the cross multiplication. So then question mark times 20,000 equals 3,000 times 100. Then I don't like this 20,000, so I need to divide both sides by 20,000 to get rid of that, right? To be fair, I do that both sides. Then this is gone. So the question mark is 3,000 times 100 divided by this. So then you can do that in the calculator, and that comes out to be exactly 15. So 15%, that's the answer. So that means that 15% of the farm he is using for vegetables. So what that means is, if he had 100 acres, 15 acres he would spend on vegetables, right? But real life, he has got 20,000 acres, right? So all we are trying to do with the percent is, if the total was 100, you know, how much he would have spent on vegetables, okay? So next problem, so let's move on to the next one. This is problem number 6. And our company has 270 employees. If the male to female ratio is 5:4, how many female employees are there? Okay, so the question is how many female employees in the whole company, right? So the male to female ratio is 5:4. So if I have 4 female, then I have 9 total, right? So if I have 4 females, then I have 9 people total. Out of those, 4 are females, 5 are males. Now, instead of 9, I have 270 total employees. Then the question is, how many females? Right? So again, you just divide, and then you just cross multiply, right? So question mark times 9 equals 4 times 270. And then I don't want this 9, so I just divide both sides by 9, okay? So then if you do the question mark equals, so you can, goes 30 times, so 420 is the answer. So there are 120 female employees. If there are 270 employees in the company, out of them, 120 are going to be female employees, okay? Okay, so now let's move on to the next problem. Problem number 7. A treadmill is on sale for $156, if it was on a sale, a 35% off sale, what was the original price? Okay, so they are asking for the original price. So you've got the sale price they have given, and then this is the sale price, and they are asking the original price. So that's what they're asking, original price. Okay. So now, so let's look at, it's a 35% off. Okay. So what does that mean? 35% off means if the original price was $100, so it's a $35, 35% off. So that means that, so 100 minus 35, $65 is going to be the sale price, right? If the original price was $100, then the sale price would have been $65, so that you get 35% off, right? So 65 plus 35 should add up to 100, right? So now the sale price is $156, so this is $156 now, and they're asking what is the original price, okay? So then you just divide, and then you just cross multiply, right? So then 65 times the question mark equals 156 times 100. So the question mark, I don't want the 65, so all I need to do is divide by 65 and divide by 65. So this goes away. So the question mark equals, then it comes out to be, if you can do it in the calculator, is $240. Okay? So if the sale price is $156, the original price would have been $240. Okay? So it's very, very, very similar. All the problems are very similar. Okay? Okay, so let's move on to the next problem, problem number 8. A team's ratio of wins to losses is 7-5. In a 96 games season, how many games did they win? Okay, so they win to loss ratio is 7-5, so 7 wins. So the wins and then the total, right? So what this says, 7-5 ratio, so if the total was 12 games, they would have won 7 times. That's what that means, right? 7 wins, 5 losses. So if the total was 12, whole was 12, then 7 times they would have won. But the total is actually 96 games is the total. So the question is how many wins, okay? So then you can actually do the same way, just divide and then cross multiply, right? So question mark and then times 12 equals 7 times 96. So I want to find out what my question mark is. So I divide both sides by 12, and then that's gone. So question mark equals, and then this goes 8 times, so 56, okay? So that's the answer. So you could have actually done that, so if the total was 12 games, 7 wins, if the total was 96, so 8 times 12 is 96, so 8 times 7 is 56. So you could have done it that way also, okay? So as I said before, you know, any method that makes sense to you, that's what you need to use. So I'm explaining one way to do that. So this way, every problem is set up like this, a proportion problem set up like this. So with cross multiplication, you can solve, you know, every problem, the same method, okay? So now let's move on to the next problem. Problem number 9. Bob borrowed $3,000 at 5% interest rate. At the end of 3 years, how much money does he have to pay? So he borrowed money for this interest rate. So you need to remember the interest rate, interest equals I equals PRT. So he borrowed $3,000, so that is P. And then the interest rate is 5%, so 5 over 100. And then the T time is, in terms of years, 3, right? So you do that. So then 3 times 5 is 15, so that's $450. So that's the interest he has to pay when he, at the end of 3 years, when he borrowed that money, okay? So this is same as before. You can either invest and earn money, or you can borrow money and then you just pay the interest back to the credit card or the bank. Either way, the same formula will actually work, okay? So next problem, problem number 10. 30% of employees in a company are females. If the company has 140 male employees, what is the total number of employees in the company? Okay. So the male employees, it says 140, but then 30% of employees are females. So that means that the remaining 30% female means 70% males. So you need to make that connection, right? So 70 plus 30 add up to 100. So then if there are 30 females, there has to be 70 males, right? So that's what that means. So that means that, so if the total number of employees is 100, so then I'm going to have 70 male employees. So that's what that means. 30% females means that 70% males. So if I have total 100 people, 70 are going to be males. But the problem says that there are 140 male employees. So there are 140 male employees, so then how many total employees are there? Okay? So very quickly you can see, so instead of 70, I have 240. So 2 times 70, 140. So 2 times 100, 200. So you can just say 200 employees. Very quickly you can get to that answer. Okay? The more and more problems you do that, you will be able to quickly get to that answer. Or you can do the same way, you just divide, and then you do the cross multiply. So 70 times the question mark equals 140 times 100. So the question mark equals 100 and then 140, and then, the 70, you divide both sides by 70, right? So here also you would do the 70 by 70, it'll gone, and then you have this. So this goes two times, so 200 is the answer, right? Okay, so once you start doing these kind of problems, they are very, very easy to do. Okay, problem number 11. John invested $4,600 at a bank for 3% annual interest rate. How much money he would have at the end of 6 months? Okay, so remember, so I equals PRT interest. So in this case, as I said, it's all plug and play. You need to plug the right numbers. So he's investing $4,600. So that is P. Plug that number for P. And then times, so that if there's nothing there, P times R times T. That's what that means. So P times R means that in this case, 3%, so 3 over 100. And then the T is 6 months. This is where you need to be very, very careful. So the T, so R is this. T, you cannot put 6 because it's always in terms of years, right? So 6 months is what? It's 1/2 of a year, right? 6 months out of 12 months, right? So you need to put 1/2. If you put T equals 6, it's totally wrong. So you want to make sure that you put the T in terms of the years. If it is 2 years, you put 2. If it's 3 years, you put 3. If it's 6 months, it's only 1/2 of a year, right? So you need to put 1/2. That's very important, right? So and then when you use the calculator thing, then you would get it $69. Okay? So don't even waste your time in doing by hand. You can just use the calculator to do this math. Okay, so the next problem, problem number 12. In a math test, 9 out of 10 people passed. if 520 people took the test, how many people did not pass? Okay, so you need to read the question very carefully. How many people did not pass? Okay, so 9 out of 10 people pass means that 1 out of 10 did not pass, right? So if I have a total of 10 people, that's total, and 1 person did not pass, right? So if 10 people took the test, 1 person did not pass, and 520 people took the test, and the question is how many people did not pass, okay? So again, if you just look at it in 10, this is 520, so this I just add a 0, so this is what? This times 52 is this, so 1 times 52, so 52 is the answer, so you can directly see that, okay? But if you're not able to see that, that's okay, you know, so you just do it the same way, you just divide like that, and then you do the cross multiplication, right? Then question mark times 10 equals 520 times 1. Then I just want the question mark, I don't want the 10, so on both sides I divide by 10, okay, so this is gone, so question mark equals, so that's gone, so that's 52, okay? Okay, so now let's move on to the next problem, problem number 13. Anne worked 37 and a half hours per week and earned $375. How much did she earn per hour? Okay, so the hours is one thing, and then the money, how much money she got, is the other thing. So she worked 37 and a half, so 37 and a half hours, and she got $375. Now the question for 1 hour, how much money she's going to get, okay? So that's a question. So you can actually cross multiply, then question mark times 37 and a half equals this 1 times 375. Then I don't like this 37 and a half, so I need to divide by 37 and a half on both sides. Okay, so this is gone, so now the question mark. So you can do that in a calculator, and if you have problems with fractions in your calculator, you should feel very, very, very comfortable to go back and forth between fractions and decimals. So 37 and a half means that 37.5, half is 0.5, right? So now in the calculator, you can say 375 divided by 37.5, and that will be 10, okay? So it's $10 an hour. So she is making exactly $10 per hour, okay? So the last problem, problem number 14, in a map, 3/5 of an inch represents 200 miles. What would be the map distance for 300 miles? Okay, so what this says that 3/5 of an inch in a map, so that corresponds to 200 miles in real life. Okay, and what would be the map distance for 300 miles? So if you have to drive 300 miles, you want to find out in the map, how much going to be the distance in the map. Okay, so there are inch and then the miles. Okay, so you set it up, there are two things, so you need to set it up like a 2 columns like this. So then you just divide, just like before, and then you just do the cross multiplication. So 200 times the question mark equals 300 times 3/5, right? So now I don't want this 200, I just want to find the question mark. So both sides I divide by 200. So that's gone, so I've got question mark, okay? So then this is, you are multiplying two fractions, 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 5 is 10. That's the answer, 9/10 of an inch. Okay? So this, you can do it in the calculator. In the calculator, when you do this, it'll give you in terms of decimals. So it'll tell you this is 9/10, that's same as 0.9, right? It'll give you in decimal, or if it gives you in decimal, then you can make it your fraction 9/10. So in the test, in the answer choices, if they have given you a fraction, so you need to make sure that you get the answer in terms of fraction. But in the test, if the choices, if it gives you decimals, so then you want to make sure that you get the answer in the decimals, okay? So with this, we have pretty much covered the ratio and proportions, and in the next topic, we will cover the data and probability and statistics, okay?